How you doing, everybody? Hammerson in the morning, WMEAD. WMEAD. Okay, no. Hey, it's me, Rob. Hey, how's it going? It's Saturday night. Welcome to the special 80th anniversary of Batman discussion. Call this a discussion? Yeah, I guess so.
Tribute.
And we're joined by tribute, discussion, homage. Yes. And with me as always, Mr. Tom Connors.
I'm Batman.
And as always, is the ever vivacious and ebullient Miss Mecca Random.
Hello.
Yeah, joining us is Mr. Larry Bernard from the Wilk Report.
Great Caesar's Ghost, Batman.
I was going to call you Larry Wilk from the Bernard Report, but that's...
That joke's run its time.
Yeah,
So that would make up for all the times we've called you Larry Wilkes. So.
Okay.
Did any of you guys take advantage of the free shot at the DC streaming service that they gave in honor of Batman's 80th birthday?
There was a free shot.
No.
There was a free shot, and most people missed that. But there's a special sale where you get 80 cents for your first month or something like that.
I don't know. I'm sure you have to have an AT&T phone on your AT&T plan to watch it with AT&T now.
What a ripoff!
They still let you watch it on computers or on TV if you got one of the proper streaming doobly-doos for your TV.
They don't have it on PS4. I know that much.
Well, you know, Sony.
All right, so we're here to talk Batman, the 80th anniversary of.
Well, you're here to talk Batman. I'm here to talk porn. So that's,
yeah,
that's every.
But I'm sure there's Batman porn.
Oh yeah.
Sure. But yeah, so this is not your average show. This is kind of a special. First off, we're going to start off with our introductions to Batman, how we were first introduced to the Dark Knight, and then from there kind of get into the influence that the character has had on our life overall. So let's start with you, Mecca, since you're the lady in the room. Tell us, first of all, how you were introduced to Batman and what he meant to you.
Well, I remember being like a little kid, being like 10 years old, staying home from school, just kind of playing hooky just to watch the TV series. That was kind of one of the cooler things because I was such a huge fan of like mostly 60s TV, but that one was really special. It was Batman and Lost in Space, but Batman was like the main one that I always wanted to watch. Was that
when they had the 60s Batman on USA for a little while?
Absolutely. Like late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, he was such a big deal because he was, the whole Tim Burton movie was around the same time. And yeah, I really loved it because it was funny. It was very much my humor. It was very colorful. It was very, it's like a cheesy hero TV show, especially for me. But no, I loved it. It was always a huge kind of staple of, ooh, Batman's on, or ooh, when's Batman coming out on DVD? Or, it was always one of those. It was one of those kind of bucket list. Okay, when the complete series comes out, I have to own it sort of shows.
All right. Yeah, I was held up for years due to rights, and Warner and Fox finally came to their senses and worked something out. So overall, though, mainly then the show has had more of an influence on you than any version, obviously.
Oh yeah, I think that one, and even probably Adam West is probably my definitive Batman, and I think everybody has kind of a definitive Batman. Possibly Michael Keaton, just for the movie version, I guess. But for me, I always kind of think back to the 60s show for sure. I have seen quite a few of the later incarnations. I think I might have missed one movie out of all of them, but yeah, maybe one.
I'm sure nobody will fault you for that.
I know.
Larry, what was your introduction to Batman and how has he influenced you?
So my introduction to Batman Batman's like a character that's older than literally all of us.
Well, yeah, we're here at the 80th anniversary, but yeah, I don't think anybody even listening is 80. So collectively, we're all pretty close to it. But
so, of course, in the mid 80s, I think it was the Neil Adams run. I read, as a young kid, Then, of course, they had on basic cable classic 60s Batman, then hopped into Tim Burton Batman. Then I was of age where I was like in high school when Batman the Animated Series came on, which was awesome. And, I've been around Batman in one form or another, off and on, since I've been consuming this sort of content.
Right. And he's been a pretty major influence, I imagine, on what you do today, too, as well as just in comics in general and stuff.
Well, having a love for things like Batman and all these pop culture things is a passion because, modern myths and storytelling, it's how we passed along our cultural icons until horrible people became in charge of those things and decided to ruin it all.
Right. Yeah, because I think Superman and Batman can definitely be compared to mythologies like Hercules or, any of those. I'm sure in the future they probably will be. Rob, what do you think? I know you're a huge Batman fan. So tell us what your introduction to the Dark Knight was.
Well, Batman's kind of always been there. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, the 60s Adam West show was still in syndication. Used to be shown like on Channel 5 or Channel 11 during the day. You come home from school, you turn on Batman, and actually, Batman was one of the main pipelines of Batman for me was the Super Friends.
That was the Super Friends. Actually, that was probably my first introduction to Batman.
That's my introduction. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
And Super Friends, and there was there was on. Of all places, CBS, when they used to still run cartoons on Saturday morning, there was a Batman series with Adam West and Burt Ward doing the voices.
Yep.
The New Adventures of Batman, yeah. And they had that god-awful Batmite who you just wanted to strangle. He was there for comic relief. No other. I remember a villain, Sweet Tooth. Was Sweet Tooth an actual Batman villain? Or was he just made up for that series? Sounds like
probably just made up for the series.
Either that or they was in the 60s Batman, one or the other.
Yeah, I don't recall the character.
I don't remember him being in the 60s show. I remember Sweet Tooth being more from the video game, but it's a different character.
Yes. Anyway. Then for a while, Batman fell out of favor. And then it came roaring back with Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. And there was the whole renaissance of Batman and, redefined for a new generation. And, it's kind of, like I said, Batman, the Animated Series. And, I was already in my 20s by the time that premiered, but still it's great. It was great to see Batman, the Animated Series. And said,
we've had some great Batman video games too recently.
Oh yes. The Arkham series.
Oh yeah.
The Arkham series. I remember when Ubisoft had the license, they couldn't throw one into the ocean. It was that bad. But the Arkham series is just fantastic. And like I said, it's just kind of always, the comics have always been there too. But it's always been around for me, at least. So.
And I'm sure he's one of your major favorite characters as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the whole it's a. I hate to say, I used to say, what does they used to say, someone said to me I once asked a question, because they always want you to do Shakespeare if you take acting. I'm like, there's no better way to turn an American off to acting than to say Shakespeare. What does that have to do with playing Batman? But it is kind of a Shakespearean tragedy, really. If you think about it.
Those kids in New Jersey showed us all something by making Aliens into a stage show, Why not kids doing a Batman stage show for their high school theater production?
Yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I got introduced to the character, of course, through Super Friends and the New Adventures of Batman as a young child. Me growing up, Superman the movie was huge. So, I mean, Batman was kind of secondary. I kind of grew up in that era that Rob's talking about where Batman kind of took a back seat for a while. I don't remember seeing the 60s Batman show until I was at least, it was just before I think the Burton movie come out. Because I remember a local Fox station would play it every Sunday, back-to-back episodes. And their promo, the reason I remember it is their promo would use the song Help by the Beatles. and it kept showing like all the scenes of them in peril.
That's weird promo.
I just thought it was kind of funny, and they probably got away with it just because it was local. Because there's no way that was like a truly syndicated. There was no way they were going to be able to afford the Beatles. There's just no way.
No one told Michael Jackson or Paul McCartney, so that's how they got away with it.
I think so. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I had to be a local.
How long ago was that? Was that Tom?
God, it had to be 86, 87, 88.
Yeah. It was around that time. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
You got cut off then or something because you didn't finish.
Oh yeah, my mic. I muted my mic for a second.
So yeah, I mean, to me, the TV series, my dad kind of made me watch it, and I was into it. I was kind of a little older when I first kind of got introduced to it, so the Adam West Batman was a little corny to me right off the bat, and my parents wouldn't let me go see the '89 movie in theaters. It was too dark and all this crap they heard, and then finally my dad bought it for me that Christmas on video, and I fell in love with it, of course, and seen the rest of them in theaters until Batman and Robin, which I couldn't believe was as bad as it was. But again, my Batman kind of was more so the movies, but I do remember picking up Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns about 1990, 91, and just falling in love with it. So I do remember reading a few different graphic novels. Of course, the Killing Joke was another favorite of mine. Years later, I ran into that one. So, I mean, almost every incarnation of Batman in some way I've loved, all the way up through Ben Affleck, which I wasn't so sure about at first. And then when I saw him in the movie, I'm like, well, he's the best thing in the movie. I wish we'd have got a Ben Affleck Batman movie and not Superman versus Batman. But yeah, so yeah, that kind of brings me up to speed. So Batman was always kind of like my second favorite superhero right after Superman. But again, he's cool. He's got a really cool symbol, got a kick-ass car and costume, really cool gadgets. The arguably the best rogue gallery of any comic book superhero, period. I mean, I want to see anybody argue with me that anybody has a better rogue gallery than Batman does, but I don't know what you guys feel about that. But
he has an excellent palette of rogues. If you think about your major iconic superheroes, that's a common trait they all have. They all have really solid rogues galleries, and the ones that are only now becoming emergently more popular, they don't have a well-defined rogues gallery. Like Wonder Woman has 3.
Right. The only other comic book character I can think about who has as many memorable bad guys as Batman is probably Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's the other one who has a really deep bench of villains.
Yeah. Like I say, because go ahead and try and name more than 3 villains for any other superhero probably, and you'll be stretching for a lot of them. So, but yeah, so then who is everybody's most favorite Batman? We already know Mecha's, so let's kind of start with her. she kind of already answered that. That was the next question.
Well, yeah, actually for TV, Adam West, of course, but and movies, if I'm going just movies, like just current movies, Michael Keaton. I really love his Batman in the movies, so like as much as I have to, and then now that I think about it, I have to defend, of course, Christian Bale. I kind of like his Batman quite a bit, but it's like a different, every Batman is so different, every different version of him, except for maybe some of those in the 90s where they were just like, oh, come on.
That's a really tough question.
Yeah.
Because it's a character like James Bond where every good actor who has the role really puts their own stamp on it. But my favorite one is actually not a Bruce Wayne Batman. It's Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond. Because he actually, to me, amplified the whole Batman concept that anybody could be Batman with the right opportunity, which made the character even deeper and more interesting. Yeah, but I mean, Batman Beyond was an excellent show. And they've ruined every attempt to bring it into the comics because, of course, they did.
Rob?
Well, Batman Beyond still has the hero's journey, though. So that
does.
Yeah.
They kind of ruined it with the official ending where they said, "Oh, you are secretly Bruce's son all along." That was something I liked at the time, but as I got older and more mature in my taste, I like saying, no, that was a bad ending.
Bruce would have had to been 60 by the time.
Well, no, Amanda Waller harvested his DNA without his consent and tried to make a Batman clone kid because the world needed Batman. So it was the end of the Justice League Unlimited series, and it's set in the future of Batman Beyond. And Terry finds out that Bruce is really his secret dad, and he's confronting Amanda Waller, the woman who knows all the secrets. And it recounts the story, which is really great. It's a perfect bookend for Zack Snyder's, bro, Batman kills people, bro. You're living in a fantasy land. So one of the Royal Flush gang has reality warping powers that have gone completely off the scale and are also going to kill her. And like other superheroes are trying to fight their way in, and Batman just walks in, and the little girl's on the swing being sad because she's about to die, and Batman just stays with her until she finally dies. And that humanity of the character Batman is why Amanda Waller decided she had to make sure Batman continued after Bruce was too old to do the role. It's like that is the perfect kernel of the character of Batman. Yes, there's vengeance and pain, but Batman has this deep well of humanity inside him that drives everything he does.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite episodes from Batman Beyond was when Terry McGinnis, the Royal Flush Gang, again the Royal was Terry McGinnis had found his Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
In the girl Melanie from that's the 10 in the Royal Flush Gang. And he had to arrest her, and he goes, he says at the end, don't suppose this ever happened to you. Let me tell you about someone named Selena Kyle, you know? So, but it was always that cat and mouse game or bat and mouse game that between Bruce Wayne and Selena. My favorite Batman is actually the Kevin Conroy Batman.
He's also a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah, the Christian Bale. I like the Christian Bale Bruce Wayne. I like the Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne, but those stupid voice affectations.
Why'd you say that name?
Yeah,
you know
you have a point there.
Actually, my other favorite Batman is that kid Max from Max's gets a Batman costume video from
the Booyah Kid.
And he shows you exactly why the Christian Bale voice is really over the top and kind of dumb. Justice.
I think the Christian Bale Batman really fit what oh god, I can't remember the director's name now. I'm completely blanking on it. What the director was going for.
Nolan? Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan.
Nolan, yeah. Completely fit with what Nolan was doing for that movie. Although I like The Dark Knight Rises, or I like that movie because of some of the unintentionally hammy and bad choices that are made that Tom Hardy just runs away with. But, you know, the movie lost steam after the whole Heath Ledger doing literally the job of his career as the Joker.
Yeah. And
shouldn't have continued without him for sure.
And Ben Affleck could have been a good Batman, but then he kind of had a little problem with his alcoholism again. And hopefully,
well, that's not even all on him because Warner Brothers really jerked him around. I got to admit, his script was decent because it's done fun with Affleck.
I mean, it's the guy who helped him co-write Argo. I mean, it's got to be a good script.
Do I need to go into my drunken Affleck?
No, not right now. Bale is probably my least favorite, almost. Actually, he probably is. Because Clooney isn't bad in the part, but he's just given a shit movie to be in. He could play the Bruce Wayne role.
Val Kilmer could also do Bruce Wayne effectively.
Yeah, Val Kilmer was serviceable. My favorite, though, would probably have to go to Michael Keaton. For some reason, something about his Batman just clicks with me. I do have to give Ben Affleck props, though. He looked the part. I like how they did the voice thing. I was hoping we were going to get an older, gruffer kind of Frank Miller Batman, which we did. And even though the whole killing thing that Schneider said was just stupid, that's not the way you
bro.
go.
What do you mean, bro? What's wrong with Batman killing, bro?
Yeah. No, I can see Batman at the point where he is in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, where he's just had it with everything. But even still, that kind of pretty much ends on him, deciding not to kill the Joker, doesn't it? From what I recall, yep. Joker kind of kills himself. So it was like, it was still like a matter of, he kind of come to terms with what he was doing was wrong or whatever, he's being too militant or whatever. But in a way, regardless, I mean, I'm not so much against Batman killing per se. It's kind of like with Superman and any of the other superheroes. It's more about the situation.
If a character kills another character in the story, it has to benefit the story.
Right,
if Batman just kills people and that doesn't add to the story, it's dumb and you shouldn't have done it.
Exactly. Now, I mean, granted, you can go back to the Michael Keaton Batman and both the early two Batman movies with Tim Burton, and Batman kills a lot of people in that willy-nilly. But, and I'm not making excuses, Tim Burton was totally, what's the word, ambivalent or...
Tim Burton has a very unusual aesthetic.
Comics. Well, he didn't give a shit about the comics. He probably never touched a Batman comic in his entire life.
He was ambivalent towards the comics.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah. He looked at some of the things because, I mean, he lifted heavily from elements of Killing Joke for the first Batman movie.
Mostly just the look, though, and kind of...
Well, no. The whole sequence of Jack Napier becoming the Joker came out of that.
Yeah, that's in there. But, I mean, he didn't necessarily write that, though, per se.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it still boils down to, and from what I know, that the script changed quite a bit, and his people worked on it, and everything, if you go watch the making of. But regardless...
Yeah,
as it is in 1989, as getting a badass dark Batman movie, when all we've had up to that point was cartoons and the Adam West movie, that was just something that just completely not only rocked my world, but obviously rocked the entire world, because it's still one of the highest grossing films of all time, especially if you count, inflation.
And
I think
Michael,
it made close to
Keaton's
$2 billion with inflation.
Oh wow, it's that high.
I know it's over $1 billion, I think, with inflation.
And Michael Keaton's performance in that movie is really something that I appreciate more as I get older. Like, I had no appreciation for it at the time.
What were you going to say, Rob?
Well, I just remember the and we all said it's a common thing now. Imagine if the internet was around back then.
Oh, when he was casted, the internet lost its shit and it wasn't even invented yet.
Yeah. And I remember actually going to see The Naked Gun, and Warner Brothers had put together a trailer of rough footage without music to show people, moviegoers, show fans that casting Keaton was not a mistake.
Well, that was the first time I ever remember in history hearing of people going to a movie just to watch a trailer and leave. And that was the first time I ever hear of people bootlegging and selling videotapes of just a trailer. Like, this was like a good point there, because it was all like the internet before the internet existed. It was kind of weird. It was almost like Batman invented what the internet was going to be in 20 years. You know what I mean? Vicariously. And what I mean by that is, this whole like geek culture of being able to share in this experience. And everybody's like, well, not only we got to see the movie, but we got to see the trailer. We got to buy the t-shirt. We got to have the poster. We got to buy the Prince soundtrack. We made Prince a #1 single that summer. It's like, it's just crazy how big that was.
That was such a good song by Prince too. Such a really good song.
So it was like, it was just like one of those moments in history where everything just came together. And 89 was not a easy year to combat other movies. Batman came out on top against a lot of competition. I'm sure, the older of us will remember especially, but
you had Batman, you had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, you had
Was it Lethal Weapon 2 that came out that year too?
Yeah, I think Lethal Weapon 2.
Ghostbusters 2, I know for sure.
UHF.
Got killed, yeah.
Don't change that channel. Don't touch that dial. We got it all on UHF.
Also, Dead Poet Society was also huge.
Yep, that was another big one that year.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I think was that more towards Christmas though, or was that a summer movie?
I think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a summer movie. Yeah, summer.
I don't remember seeing it until Christmas though. Maybe
yeah.
That's why.
Ghostbusters 2 came out.
That I
The Little Mermaid.
That's right. Little Mermaid came out that year too. That's right. But maybe that one was the Christmas one.
Wasn't Honey, I Shrunk the Kids directed by Joe Johnston?
Yes, it was. Now that you do, I think that did come out in the summertime. Yeah, that was a little. Now that I remember that, but I didn't see it until later.
Criminally underused, underutilized director, criminally underappreciated director. And I was saying,
it was just insane. I remember that year. I remember getting the comics. I remember getting the bubblegum cards, the toys. I had
wasn't Back to Future 2 out that year?
It came out that summer too. You're right. Yep. So it was just a blockbuster filled summer. That's true. Batman cereal.
You know what kids today would say? You're just like old. Like the movies weren't that good, but you're remembering them better than they actually were. I'm like, yeah, take a look at all the hit movies that were out that year.
But
let's
just kind of frame things up here for superhero movies. There's 78 Superman, which was excellent movie, basically top notch, defining movie for that. Then we had Superman 2, which was also good. Swamp Thing, Superman 3, Supergirl, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and Return of Swamp Thing. So that was just the DC side of the live action comic book movies that we had gotten. Marvel was the terrible Howard the Duck movie, the Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren. The view of Dolph Lundgren naked doing a soliloquy in a New York sewer is still burned into my memory. The 1990 Captain America movie, which is just really weird. And again, that's like, there were no really good superhero movies until Batman, and after Batman, that's when the wheels start turning.
You forgot Supergirl.
Well, no, I thought I mentioned that, but Supergirl was not a good movie.
I didn't say it was. I thought you missed
it. And actually, there was another movie that came out that year, actually, License to Kill, the second and final movie with Timothy Dalton as James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
July 14th, 1989. I remember, and that was actually the
featuring Wayne Newton as the villain.
Yes. And that was actually the first Bond movie I saw in movie theaters.
Is that the year that Coming to America came out too, or is that 1990? Or was that 88?
It was 1990.
88. 88.
Man.
88 and 89 were both strong years for movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Eddie Murphy came out that year, though. Unless he took a break that year.
Did my lights just get dimmer, or am I imagining things? I don't know.
You're imagining things because we're actually talking about good things. Nobody's coming after us, Rob. You're just paranoid. So
yeah.
So moving on, though, what do we see is like the future of Batman? We know we've got the DC movie coming up with a new, reportedly younger Batman. Ben Affleck's out the door. What do we hope to see with this new movie?
Because I'm not entirely sure what the DCU's actual strategy is. Because the Joker's gets to be their own little side project.
Well, yeah, and then all of a sudden we hear Jared Leto's done playing the Joker, but then some leaked footage or pictures today of him.
He's going to be in the Birds of Prey movie as Joker.
Yeah. So
DC strategy is to throw something against the wall and see if it sticks. That's what their strategy is now.
Clearly.
And I didn't get a chance to see the early premiere of Shazam to know if the Superman scene was in there or not. Nobody's spoiled it or not, so yeah. But anyway, as far as Aquaman, I just watched that, and there's very little connection. There's like one throwaway line.
But it's a throwaway line that you could probably say it's something else if you needed to.
Yeah, she just
vague enough.
that he beat Steppenwolf or whatever is all it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention any other superheroes. They mention metahumans, plural, but that's it. They don't like mention any other superheroes. So, I mean, I don't know how Shazam handles it. We're already hearing from Patty Jenkins that Wonder Woman 84 isn't really technically a sequel now all of a sudden. Have you guys heard anything about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're planning to use Wonder Woman 84. Didn't you guys actually cover that as like a soft reboot?
I think we did a while back here. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I wasn't sure if we did or not.
Don't reboot something that was successful, though.
Well, no. They're going to purge the Zack Snyder from the system.
Oh, okay.
Which was fine. That was probably what was wrong with the original movie. Because I'll be honest, I was one of the people who didn't like Wonder Woman all that much.
They're gonna give it a Snyder enema.
Snyder enema.
Though I'm not entirely convinced about. I'm not entirely convinced with what they're doing with Cheetah for that movie.
Yeah, that casting is off.
Well, also they're planning to make Cheetah like an obsessive fan.
Haven't we already had that twice now?
Oh yeah. No, not an Iron Man 3 Amazing Spider-Man 2 deal.
Three of them then. I forgot about that.
And
the whole
wasn't that kind of sort of also the way that Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman kind of was a little bit?
No, she was a mousy kind of secretary working for Christopher Walken.
I think she was obsessed with the fantasy of being with Max Schreck, though, in the beginning. Yeah. But that's probably the closest.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up as Batman?
Because he is Batman, you moron.
Oh, Bruce Wayne is Batman? No wonder he has such cool cars and neat gadgets. I do believe Batman needs more cowbell.
Oh shit! So
that was the lamest reveal ever. Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up as Batman? It was just like.
Well, what's funny is
Christopher Walken
disappears.
But I honestly think Batman is hotly due for a new, fresh take on the character. So let's lay out a picture.
Is that what we're going to get, do you think?
I don't think we're going to get it because I don't think the comic companies or the movie companies are on the ball enough to do this. But think about it. Bruce Wayne is a billionaire philanthropist. So he knows that there's all sorts of broad sociological trends about crime.
You know, I'm Batman.
So like he's like this Bill Gates guy, but he's trying to like solve crime in the decaying urban core cities. And like instead of having Batman be completely about this whole assault about him like, wanting to punch people because they murdered his parents, it's him, having this, obsession to stop crime that he takes it to the next step to like punch people as Batman because he figures a way to punch people in the right places at the right time to push and influence crime more. I think that could be a much more interesting take on the character than he's Sherlock Holmes and James Bond and a ninja, and he's always prepared for everything.
I really don't get it. I really don't. But if you think about it, if Bruce Wayne really wanted to solve crime in Gotham City, he's a billionaire. He would just open a factory and give people jobs.
Well, I mean, in the comics he does, but that's not enough. And he also supports like the social services network. But like in the 90s in New York with the whole broken windows theory on crime, like you have a Bruce Wayne character who like methodically targets areas with various social services networks, and then he just decides to put on a bat suit and punch people in the most crime infested neighborhoods to try to, like remove it like cancer. Like he's going into the deepest crime areas to cut it out and like push the people out who are trying to be criminal. And I think that would be an interesting new take on it. I think.
Well,
as great as Frank Miller's take has been, it's been too dominant in the thoughts for too long, and the Grant Morrison changes that were made in like the early 2000s have also been too long in the character.
Well, unfortunately, to Hollywood, a fresh new take is just gender bending or race flipping a character.
They're making him
race flipping.
Yeah.
And somebody out there will say, Idris Elba should be Batman. Where do I vote?
Well,
like, it's
Batman
like the
in his
fucking
story,
all-star ballot.
He's
That's an
so
interesting
overrated
take.
too.
Yeah, there's an interesting take from Larry there, but I think at some points they kind of forget the core of what the character is anyway to begin with. So it's really tough to really say that they've really given us a full-on Batman yet, because really I think all of us could unanimously agree that the animated series gave us the closest thing to what most people consider the definitive Batman anyway.
Oh yeah,
There's
but
so many
that's because Dini had such a great artistic vision for that show.
Right. But here's the thing that like shows like Gotham, and I kind of fell out of that early on, like second season, and why that bothers me is I think a lot of them forget that the one thing that the Dark Knight got right, and that was that the villains are usually fueled by Batman himself. So that's kind of the inner turmoil there, as to where it's like, is he really doing any good? And that kind of goes somewhat with what you were saying, Larry. And that's where I like, the question of, okay, Batman spawns these other people that are worse than anything he was originally intending to deal with, in a sense of like the Joker and the Penguin and Two-Face, especially. He's usually more or less in some way directly responsible for him, whatever version you want to take. But that's my point, is that I think shows like Gotham forgot that Batman's not so much. I think that the comics and some of the other versions have gotten it better to where, the villains are more of a result of Batman himself.
It's chicken and the egg.
Yeah, because the Burton movies really got that concept, and even the Schumacher's Forever, especially, and the Dark Knight, the Joker is a direct result of Batman. He even says it. I mean, go ahead.
And what Gotham got really wrong is you make the Joker less as interesting of a character if you understand where he came from. That's one thing Alan Moore got so right in The Killing Joke. It's like, well, I remember it this way most of the time, but sometimes I remember it differently.
And that's what I loved about, Nolan's take on it. And I loved it because I didn't like it the first time I saw it. At first, I'm like, oh no, he's going to tell us where he came from. And then he gives us a different version. And then okay, I get what he's doing. Then I'm like, okay, cool. I like that, because there is no, definitive. He's not going to tell you where he comes from, period. You're not going to find out. And that's the best part. And them are usually the best villains, because once they start, there's only like one or two villains in history that I can think of where when we get to hear some of their backstory, that it makes them even more interesting. And that's Freddy Krueger. And that's about it, because everything that they added to his backstory just made him even more revolting than he was to begin with. Otherwise, look at like Darth Vader, any other villain, you start to peel apart like an onion. It just kind of destroys who they are. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but
well, it's what
Dan
Dan
just needs to be a bad guy.
What Dan Harmon said, there is no better way to make a character less interesting than to tell you his backstory. So that's why you don't see Rick Sanchez's backstory in Rick and Morty.
See Rick's wife.
No. Remember when in that season 3 premiered, the Rick's that whole thing he concocted about his family being killed by an explosion? That was all a misdirect. So, we still don't know anything about Rick's backstory. What are you in for? Everything. That was his answer. And he even says, "Look, Morty, I don't have time to go into my backstory. Okay, so." Let's just say your grandpa has a problem with the government.
I mean, and that's one of the few problems. Well, not one of the few, but one of the bigger issues I have probably with the '89 Batman in retrospect is them making the Joker the one who killed his parents, getting to see the Joker's backstory. But then again, Jack Nicholson was just of the time, that Joker. You know what I mean? It was like a psychotic version of the Cesar Romero Joker, basically.
And I think the Jared Leto Joker could have worked with a more coherent movie around it. Suicide Squad just was not a solid movie.
No, I skipped that one because it just looked so all over the place. It looked so much like a mishmash of nothing.
And I love how they kind of redid the movie to rip off Guardians of the Galaxy, and now James Gunn is going to reboot Suicide Squad.
Oh, I heard it was like a reboot with the same title, and then now it's not a reboot with the same title.
Well, then Jai Courtney's going to be in it, and they're still rumoring that Margot Robbie's supposed to be in it, but I don't know.
Is it just me, or is it kind of just getting kind of tiresome how many times these movies are just rebooted to the point of like they're kind of sucking the soul out of a lot of these movies, you know? Even the Batman franchise, like they're going to keep redoing it so many times that nobody's going to care. Or do you think everybody will always care about Batman?
I mean, there's so many interesting Bat villains that have not seen the big screen. Like, what's his face with the puppet, the little puppet gangster guy. He could be an interesting movie villain in the right kind of movie.
They only stick to like the same like handful of villains, though. It's always the Joker.
Why do I want to say Mastermind? It's not Mastermind. I can't remember what that guy's name is. Batman villain with puppet.
Well, and Batman is kind of like Spider-Man almost, to where he is probably your most resilient character as far as superheroes go.
Yeah, but
Arnold
Spider-Man...
Wesker, the ventriloquist. Yeah, the puppet's name is Scarface.
Scarface.
Yeah.
Nice. See, I just wonder. Now, I'm not the hugest Superman enthusiast or anything. I don't know a whole lot about the character. If Superman, does he have like the same amount of villains, or does he only really just go up against Lex Luthor?
He does have the same.
Yeah, he has a few more.
But he doesn't have like 50,000 like Batman.
There's Brainiac. There's Metallo. There's probably a good handful that people could probably.
Yeah.
There's Brainiac, Metallo, the Atomic Skull. There's
Darkseid,
Mr. Mxyzptlk, Bizarro.
Bizarro, like I just said, yeah.
But it seems to me though like Batman has so many villains between the animated series, the 60s show. Like you could pull so many different obscure villains. Like, why do we keep seeing the Joker? I'm so tired of the Joker. I'm so sick to death of him.
Well, Jack Nicholson explained why that is, because the Joker outsells Batman. That's why.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to merchandise.
They actually did in the late 70s or 80s. They actually had a limited, about a year and some change Joker series in the comics. It did okay business, but they had problems really selling it properly because the Joker was a villain. He wasn't quite as psychotic then, but he was a bad dude.
And the Joker's chin used to scrape the ground. I mean, that's the other thing too.
Well,
I
think
really exaggerated the Joker.
Really helped that aspect of the Joker too.
But
that he kind of went from just being that cool villain to where women found him sexy and shit like that because of her. I don't know if you know what I mean, Mecca, but
like the bad boy appeal. Yeah, women do like the bad boys that they think, oh, I can change him. He'll be a bad boy and tell me. It's like the female version of a power fantasy almost.
But for the Joker, the reason he always works in the studios, number one, clown fear is like one of the top 10 fears people have. So that's always going to be marketable as a villain characteristic. It's a villain who's a clown. And Batman is a personification of law and order, and the Joker is his polar opposite. So if you're pitching that movie to some studio executives, done, cut, print. It's not like you're having to sell them like, well, there's a guy who ripped off the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, who was a Batman villain, but there was another Mad Hatter before him who was like an English big game hunter who was trying to hunt various animals to put their heads on the wall. That's not something you're going to pitch to a studio executive as easily as the Joker.
You go into a pitch meeting and you say, okay, here's our idea for a new Batman movie. You have a guy who plans crimes around different days of the year. What's his superpower? He doesn't have one. Wait a minute. Hold on. There's no superpower. No. What's his name? Calendar Man. Okay. And we're supposed to put $150 million behind this because why exactly? Really, that's a tough sell. Really. Actually, somebody I brought up in chat, Hush would actually be a pretty good, would make a pretty interesting movie because you have
Hush would, yeah.
Because you have a mirror image of Bruce Wayne. not of Batman, but of Bruce Wayne. Which
then you have what wasn't it Cassandra Cain, who was one of the Batgirls, who used to be Hush's understudy sidekick villain, who got converted in the comic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. Cassandra Cain. Yeah, I think you're right. But it also, you know, the thing about Hush is, like I said, it oh, Eric Kelly says that's the next animated movie. Okay, good. I'll have to pick that up then.
I was gonna say, I thought I heard something like that.
Yeah. But it asks the question, though, what if certain things had turned out differently? One or two events in Bruce Wayne's life had gone another way. Then what would have happened? You know, and sort of Hush kind of lets you see that. What if he didn't become Batman? What if he descended into madness after his parents were killed, you know? But he kind of did, but
also then you get into the idea of doing a Batman movie with Dick Grayson as the Batman. And you get to see him reflecting on Bruce as Batman and the shadow that casts over him and how he's struggling to be his own man, but also honor his father figure that he's conflicted about. That's another movie idea that would be good, but I don't think you could convince a room of studio executives of that.
Yeah, well, neither. You probably couldn't convince them about the Court of Owls either.
See, that's kind of what I was thinking, that they keep going back to those because they're so recognizable to the mainstream that's why we only ever have Batman and Superman over and over and over and Spider-Man over and over and over again, because they're so just as like, because they're so recognizable to like the mainstream normal people, and the studio execs don't understand. They just know, okay, these are the top most popular ones. This is what people know.
But I mean, it's also certain popular things to comic fans don't make for a clean movie script. Like they had a Batman villain from the 60s series who thought he was King Tut. You're not going to make a movie out of that guy.
Oh, yeah.
See, I liked King Tut, though. He was really interesting. He was really interesting.
Victor Buono. Yeah. Victor Buono, yeah.
Well, that's what we've said in the past before. Batman is one of those things that they really, really, really should do, like a live action inspired by the animated series type show. Maybe a little darker, maybe a little bit more adult, PG-13-ish. But I think that's what everybody watch. I mean, everybody would watch it, I think.
Yeah, put it on HBO. Bring in all the old villains. You know, get the people who wrote a lot of the Arkham video games, right? Get some of those people. Make it, you know, either live action or animated. Stick it on HBO. You know, show some stuff if you need to.
Well, Batman is one of those you could do it live action on the cheap.
Easy.
Oh yeah.
And bring in like an inspiration from all of the source material, you know, the TV series, like the animated series, all of it, because there's a plethora of villains that they could have, and you could have an overarching storyline each season. You could have, you know, just independent standalone episodes. You know, villain of the week. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you could probably do The Long Halloween as like a DC Universe streaming service Boogaloo TV series.
Well, like, that's one thing I can't believe. Yeah, that like DC has, their streaming service hasn't been like, you know, saying that we're doing Batman the series. You know, fuck this Gotham shit.
You want to sell the subscription?
Yeah,
I would buy that.
You want to make DC the biggest streaming service next to Netflix right now? Announce you're doing a live action Batman series in the vein of the old animated series. Everybody will sign up for that. If you get the right people involved, everybody will. I don't know anybody who'd turn it down.
Problem is they want to make movies. That's the thing. DC, Warner Brothers wants to make movies because movies pull in $1 billion, whereas a television series will pull in maybe like, you know,
a few million,
a few millions or couple tens of millions.
Well,
yeah, but they've already had several versions on TV and in movies already with some of their DC characters lately. Sorry, Mecca, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, like, if they put Batman on TV where he kind of belongs in some sense, for me anyway, and it just kind of, you know, sprinkle in, you know, all the movies with like Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Let's move forward with those movies, and Superman. You know, don't give up on your big draw Superman still. And then kind of bring Batman in every once in a while from the TV series, you know, get somebody who can do all of it. if they really, really want that, you know, have the TV series connected to the movies, you know, why not?
Right.
You know,
well, I remember a lot of people griping. Sorry, Larry. I just remember a lot of people griping early on, and I was one of those people. Why they didn't just bring Grant Gustafson or Guston or how you say his name from the Flash TV series into Justice League until they screwed that show up.
He's a better actor than Ezra Miller.
Oh God, I hate Ezra Miller as the Flash. And I haven't seen some of the latter seasons of Flash, and I've heard it's kind of gone downhill. But at that time, I don't see even now still why they couldn't have just gone that route. But go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
But Patrick Willems has done a video thing about the limitations of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and there's a point: is if you're going to have this whole transmedia experience of Batman in the movies, where like the movies represent the big culminations of his character arc, why not have you see some of the connective material, like Batman shows up in an episode of Teen Titans or an episode of Doom Patrol, or
he already used that live action Titans show. That was what I was going to say. We already have a couple versions on television of Batman. That's my point. Between Gotham and that Titans show, we already do.
But I mean, if you're bringing a Batman you're going to sell in the movies into that Titan show, it leads people into your streaming service, which is what I think AT&T wants.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think in this day and age, with the way Marvel works, and I think they have really shot themselves in the foot with Marvel on television, because I have no investment in S.H.I.E.L.D. I know some people love it, but I don't care if the shows can't affect the movies, but can be affected by the shows can be affected by the movies. What point do I have to really be invested in the shows then? Because anything that happens in the shows is kind of pointless. But the Netflix shows that prove that you could do it right. Now, all they had to do was bring those characters into the Avengers or something like that, but they didn't do that. And they could so easily, and I don't see where people would have such an issue. Because, early on, I ran into a few people here or there that were still kind of oblivious to what the whole Marvel universe was. But I think now, 3-4 Avenger movies deep, I think people have figured it out.
I mean, like, let's say in the third Spider-Man movie, you have Luke Cage show up to help Spider-Man beat the Rhino,
right? Or Daredevil.
That would sell that movie even more.
Yeah, I mean, there was no real reason you couldn't have had one or two scenes or a reference to Daredevil or something like that in Infinity War. I mean, I'm not saying stop the movie, but just something. Even if they just mention like the devil from Hell's Kitchen or you know what I mean? Just something like that. Anything, anywhere. It just something to make it viable, to make it worthwhile. And I think they're really missing the boat on that, and DC could really jump on that train. I think that you're onto something there, Larry. I hope they're listening to you, because especially if they want to sell that DC service, they have ways of doing it that right now, especially with their rocky ground that the DC universe is on, they could build on something on their streaming service between movies and television and get people involved that way, especially with Aquaman being the hit that it was this last winter, and Wonder Woman being the hit that it was the summer before or whatever. So
and I also, Doom Patrol is, from what I've seen from the previews, I haven't put my money into the DC service. Looks like such a good show. Why wasn't that what they led off with? It's just baffling, their decisions for their marketing.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's
no idea.
Yeah, I don't. If it's not on the PS4, I'm probably not going to get a streaming service that something's attached to, unfortunately. But which one is that one on? That one's on the DC service too, isn't it?
Yeah. Imagine though if they had Alan Tudyk as the Riddler in a Batman movie. How great would that be?
See, there's a lot of great actors I could see in villain roles. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless. They're just kind of boxing themselves in some of these choices. But we've gotten a little off the beaten path here. Speaking of Batman and movies and stuff like that, though, which of the movies is your personal favorite? All of them. Every single one ever made, including the 66 Batman movie that they did for the TV show. You could include that, Mecca, if you need to.
The anti-shark repellent spray. The Bat Shark repellent.
That was hilarious. It was horrible. No, that movie's terrible. Like, I love it, but it's terrible. It is a bad movie. He is running with a bomb for 75 years straight. It's kind of hilarious. But no, I love it, but not because it's good at all. No, probably some of the better ones, like, you know, the second of the Christian Bale ones are probably like the best, in my opinion. But I do have a soft spot for the movie of the TV series, and I really, of course, have a soft spot for Michael Keaton. So that's probably my favorite, is the Tim Burton Batman. But I think the best one is probably that second one of the Nolan trilogy, right?
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I mean, I like The Dark Knight because I think it's the better film. I think it's the best film overall, though I could say that there's several animated films that are really good, but they don't really have the cultural hook. But I mean, you have to also give Bane with Tom Hardy an honorable mention, because Bane has become a huge internet meme, Tom Hardy's performance. So to the point that Tom Hardy actually gets extremely mad every time people bring it up to him on his birthday. So of course the internet does that every birthday of his that they can.
It's true. The whole Bane thing has just become such a meme, but it doesn't make it a good movie.
No, it doesn't. No.
What about Rob? Did we hear about which one Rob?
Yeah. Two favorite movies: the '89 Batman movie, and I had to say Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh God, yeah, that was actually. Oof.
And Sub-Zero is really good too. Sub-Zero is criminally underappreciated.
I had a feeling he'd go with the Mask of the Phantasm, Rob.
Yeah. Also, the Batman Beyond movie,
Return of the Joker.
Return of the Joker was
amazing.
I'll stay in this body permanently.
Did you ever see that movie, Tom?
Not that one, not the last one, but I have seen Mask of the Phantasm.
It's good to be back, isn't it, Batsy? Mark Hamill, actually, as the Joker. And
I've seen pieces of it, but I've never seen the whole thing.
Under the Red Hood is also really good. Under the Red Hood.
I'm going to have to kind of agree with Larry, though, on the whole Dark Knight is the better movie overall, but I love the aesthetic of the original '89 Batman. Like, I love that costume. I love that Batmobile. The best theme song, Keaton again.
Like, let's have ridiculously tall buildings that make absolutely zero sense. Like giant, ridiculous
style, though. It was just so awesome.
I remember the 2020 segment on that shortly before Batman hit theaters. Said the artistic design was to blend styles that of architecture that did not match, and to look as if hell had risen up from the sidewalk and kept going.
Yeah,
I mean, they were all based on real world designs, and actually, they were said it was a monumental essay in ugliness. You know, almost as if urban renewal had never happened. That was another thing. Imagine like the urban renewal of the 60s in New York City, when New York was getting really run down, the 60s and 70s. For you know, older people like me remember that. But picture if that never took place, and it just New York still continued to fall into decay. There's actually there's a great quote. I don't know who it's attributed to. But they said about what's the difference between Gotham City and Metropolis. Metropolis is New York City during the day.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking.
Yeah,
hookers and blackjack.
Well, the hookers in Gotham will do things that the girls in Metropolis won't do.
That's Atlantic City. So, no, Metropolis is New York during the day. Gotham is New York at night. That's been the dividing line for a lot of people. So there is sort of this secret world of this hidden world of New York, for anyone who's, who grew up in the area, that emerges at night that you don't see during the day. So you see certain people at night. You see just the atmosphere is completely different. The city's a little more dangerous. Well, now the most dangerous thing in New York is a hipster with a notebook full of gluten-free cupcake recipes. I mean, come on, to me, that's a city going downhill.
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw the original Donner Superman, that was basically in New York City.
Oh yeah. Shot in complete New York. Yeah.
And that was very. Lois Lane had 4 locks on her door. Oh and how one of the major plot beats is a mugging.
Yep. Or even better, watch any Woody Allen movie from the 70s that takes place in New York. The beginning of Bananas, he has 5 locks on the door, and there's actually a type of lock they call the New York lock, which is a big it's a huge steel rod that it's affixed to the door, and it forms it comes to a point, and it's impossible to open to even break the door open with that. It's literally called a New York City lock. So yeah, so like I said, so Batman is sort of New York as if Batman represents the New York City, and it used to actually take place in New York. In the original 1938 comics, it was originally New York City. Then they changed it to Gotham. But actually, Gotham City.
I thought it was always kind of more inspired. Oh, Tim and Flip just said it in chat. I thought it was more inspired by Chicago, of course, with all the mobsters.
Well, Chicago was
the older architecture and stuff. But
New York had its mobsters too.
I do like the New York at night kind of analogy, though, too.
But to me, the aesthetic kind of, if I were to imagine Gotham in my head today as a modern city, it'd be something like Detroit, a city that's cancerously eating itself alive.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd imagine in that sort of world, Bruce Bruce is the last of the old school, rich families in the Detroit area, and he's still trying to make it work.
I think RoboCop kind of jumped on that, though, and not to go off topic, but it's kind of eerie how that movie kind of really predicted that a lot of that shit going to hell over there.
Yeah.
So what is next? The rich company's going to come in and buy up Detroit? It almost has to at this point.
They bought Detroit, they have to fix all the pipes. That's a lot of money.
Imagine that's something that would happen in a Batman comic. The corrupt mayor would sell off the city's water pipes, and then the entire population would be poisoned. Think about it. That is almost a plot of a Batman movie, or
isn't it? Though, and I've seen that because I think that I've seen the whole deal about how they went and did that.
And something interesting. We were talking about doing Batman on TV. They had something that happened in the comic where Sherlock Holmes and Batman teamed up together. Sherlock Holmes
no, that's not the Arkham by Gaslight. Never mind.
No, like the contemporary Batman setting, Sherlock Holmes had been using meditation and herbs to stay alive, and he needed Batman's help to complete one last case. That's something you could do in a Batman TV show that you couldn't pull off in a movie. And I think it could work really well if you had a Batman TV show.
Well, and that's the best part of having a show is the characters can breathe and you can develop characters. And you're not kind of boxed into this 2-hour deal or 3 movies to kind of, make the story work. And not only that, better yet, you got more time to build up the villains. And it doesn't even have to be a 20-episode season. It can just be a 13-episode like they do with streaming shows now. Even half-hour shows would be plenty for, I think everybody would just eat it up if you did it right. If you did it right, as long as you didn't screw it up. That's the problem. Gotham is a perfect example of how they don't understand this shit. Smallville was kind of like Gotham before Gotham, and Smallville works on a lot of levels, and I was happy to see all the homages they'd paid in Smallville, and I loved how they incorporated some of the villains that most people don't get to see very often, which is another topic we brought up about Batman villains. But then once you got up so far into the show, it's like, come on, just let him be Superman already, because this is just going on and on and on and on, and drawing out for 10 years was just too much.
Also, another interesting thing that they could do in a movie that they haven't done yet is like a post No Man's Land scenario where Lex Luthor comes in and tries to save Gotham, and he's fighting against both Bruce Wayne and Batman. That could be an interesting movie.
Right. But I don't get this thing anymore with like a lot not allowing A-level superheroes to have their own TV shows. I mean, it's like they're just anti letting them, have their own show. Why can't we have a Superman show? Why can't we have a Batman show? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. But we have Michael Wilk from the Wilk Report joining us late. He wants to give us 5 cents on Batman. So welcome, Mike.
Welcome.
Yo, guys. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I just caught you online here, so I figured I'd see if I could join in because I Angel earlier this evening, and then I noticed you guys were on. So I've been kind of a fan of Batman ever since. I always thought that and the animated series were the best iterations of the franchise. I mean, Nolan's trilogy was epic, but to me, it kind of made it easy to turn. Then you get like, I'm Batman. And it's like, okay, sorry guys, we don't need that. Okay, just go back to basics. And I actually kind of liked a lot of the episodes of.
Yeah, your connection must not be very good, Mike. Do you have other stuff running in the background or something? Or
I'm in a basement, okay. So there's a.
Because we're only getting like a third of what you're
going on. If I can lower my gain setting here.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that better?
So far. Sorry about that.
All right, yeah, so but yeah, I always kind of the detective and the Cape Crusader, and I always feel like if you're going to be Batman, I mean he got started in Detective Comics. I mean the fighting skills and everything, and I was listening to Rob's rant about Zack Snyder, and I'm in complete agreement with that because. Snyder is like, I mean, he did a good adaptation of Watchmen, but that's because the material he was writing, it's supposed to be dark and gritty and show the consequences of what happens when superheroes and the kind of world that takes place in. And so he was right for that story, but I think he decided, well, that's how all superhero movies should be. And or Superman.
Yeah, I didn't get much of that. Sorry.
That's cutting out like every other word.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I don't know what's going on with your connection there, but yeah.
Oh man, that's all
right. That. So Rob, what else did we have to cover on the questions?
I'm not sure.
So what do you think about their wanting to do like backstory movies on like Alfred? Let's see a movie about Alfred as a young British.
No.
With a hot Asian sidekick.
No.
That's the thing that happened.
No, they don't need to do that. I don't care. Just something else for me to have to ignore.
How about the spinoff with Margot Robbie and Poison Ivy's Hot Topic Adventure?
That was terrible.
That one I'm a little like, yeah, I don't know yet until I see a trailer on that.
I mean,
what's the hot top making stuff with a hot topic crowd? I mean, jeez.
Because they spend money.
What's up with that? Oh, don't you know? Like we're totally into Hot Topic. That was like the Twilight crowd. We don't need to Twilightify.
Yeah, that's what they want to get for life, though. They want a customer for life, so they want somebody to go in at a young age and be a devoted fan from like the time they can decide what to spend money on until the time they die.
Or to quote Jay Bauman from the Nerd Crew skit, consume products and then get excited to consume products again.
Pretty much.
But then they
Because
forget
there
because they want to piss off all the old fans, though. They don't want any of the old people half the time in these movies. They just want to cater to these young people, forgetting who has more money than the young people.
Because you can't do both.
Star Trek Hot Topic. That's a discovery.
Yeah,
Star
no.
Trek Hot Topic.
Pretty much.
Current 13th Doctor Who stuff, 75% off at Hot Topic.
Oh, don't get me going about her. So
Yeah, that was like last month. I had that picture go out from her. They had like the Doctor Who trench coat and all that. Oh god, that was bad.
nanny. 70%
off for this shit.
Yeah, that series 11. If you watch Council of Geeks review of series 11 as a whole, I actually concurred with a lot of what because it seems like Chibnall is just going for just good enough, and that's not good enough for Doctor Who, which is basically the argument he's making.
Chinball, not Chibnall, Chinballs. Chris Chinballs.
Yeah.
Chinballs.
But that's something else that I think we're all missing out the boat on. We need to do some really, outrageous crossovers. I mean, how about Solomon Kane and Batman in a movie together? If we're gonna get crazy, let's get crazy.
I'm writing an episode of a possible future Orville episode.
Cool.
Well, the problem is if you get too outrageous with the crossovers, then it becomes bad fan fiction. I mean,
I don't do crossovers.
But isn't that what we're getting in movies and TVs now? That fan fiction.
Yeah. Well, which is why we had to put a stop to it.
God, Star Trek's getting.
Look, has no one read the Star Trek and X-Men crossovers?
No. Those were actually a novel series that happened
in comic or Trek crossovers in comics. They don't work.
They also had 3 Batman versus Predator, not Batman versus Aliens versus Predator.
My buddy Jake actually said about. He said about.
They also had
Lord of the Rings,
Alien versus Predator versus Terminator.
Yeah. My buddy Jake was talking about one time a Lord of the Rings Batman fanfic, DC Comics fan fiction. You have like Hal Jordan say to Gollum, says, "I'm gonna need you to give me that ring back." "No, it's my precious." Yeah, Gandalf, "Superman, you have become a conjurer of cheap tricks. You shall not pass." I think Batman knows about second breakfast, 11's afternoon tea. Just so ridiculous on its surface. So yeah, there's some things that should be just left to left to the imagination. That are probably better in your.
You already had that kind of crossover. It's called Star Wars. No, think about it. What was Star Wars? It was an amalgamation of
Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers,
Lord of the Rings, John Ford westerns, Akira Kurosawa films thrown in there for good measure. I mean, all of it just kind of blended together.
Well, George Lucas said, "I want to buy the Flash Gordon."
Yeah.
Oh, you won't let me buy it? All right, well, screw you. I'm gonna make my own Flash Gordon with hookers and blackjack.
And that's the thing.
I'm looking.
One of us, not necessarily one of us in this chat right now, one of us needs to make the next Star Wars, the next Doctor Who, so that it can become popular. Huh?
Something like that. The world has changed so much that we've brought this up before. We'll never get another Star Wars. The closest we're ever going to get is the Marvel thing we got going on now. Once this dies off, it's going to be probably quite a while before something like that can really take everybody.
Even Disney can't do proper Star Wars, and they've got ownership of the actual property, and they can't do it.
What if you had like a low budget superhero kind of project that you could do on like a $25 to $50 million budget? You think you could get like 10, 15, 20 million of that on crowdfunding?
You could probably do that. I mean, personally, I would like to see, a lower budget Batman or with Richard Donner or Tim Burton's iteration where the money is not spent so much on Batman was a more special effects driven vehicle than you needed an actual story.
Yeah.
And sometimes not having a budget of $150, $250 million to spend, kind of forces you to be more creative. Halloween film works so well that it garnered over $250 million at the box office, because even though they spent like total $15 million, but most of that was on this.
And you could do a Batman movie for $25 million. That's the thing.
I mean,
there's no reason you shouldn't be able to, unless you're hiring too many expensive people.
When does the Sonny Bono copyright for Batman run out? It's pretty soon, relatively speaking.
Sonny Bono copyright?
Yeah, the Sonny Bono Copyright Act that extended the copyrights. I think that's going to be running out like in like another 5 to 10 years or something like that.
But the thing is, if Batman becomes public domain, then there's going to be 100 different Batman movies, and most of them are going to be terrible.
Isn't it 100 years after?
It's 79 years after the creator dies, and then like another 25 years after that.
I was say we got a ways to go. I was going to say,
yeah.
Sure
so Bob Kane and Bill Finger haven't been gone for that long.
It's scheduled to Superman Batman.
Well, I'd be work up
is scheduled to fall into the public domain in 2031. So that's relatively soon.
Well, but but here's the thing. Like I said, if Batman, there's this, I know there's this belief that all information should be free and public, and there should be no copyrights and everything. But at the same time, people have a right to earn money off of what they create. I'm not going to dispute that. And on a certain level, copyrights are a good thing. And I know I'm going against the grain on this, but here is why. Because if everything was public domain, you'd have 1,000 different versions of Batman. And by the law of averages, most would be terrible. And it would be far too difficult for fans to sift through the thousands of versions of the bad Batman comics, movies, video games, stories, toys, whatever, to get to the couple of good ones.
Well,
and it just saturates the market. It just saturates the market, and it dilutes the value of the character.
There would be a glut. It's like Dracula and Frankenstein that are in the public domain. But have we really seen a glut of those? So, just to play devil's advocate against Robin.
Well, that was just what I was saying. Like Robin Hood, King Arthur.
Right. I mean, been a ton of them.
Sherlock Holmes, that's public domain. There's
And how many iterations have we seen in the last 30 years? We've seen
a version of King Arthur.
Elementary. There's Elementary. There's Sherlock. There's the Robert Downey Jr. version.
Then we've actually but we've seen less of them succeed than actually flop. That's the point of these public.
Not many of them.
How many memorable Robin Hoods are there? How many memorable King Arthurs are there? Or ones that actually made money at the box office? Very few.
The last one that was a solid performer for Robin Hood was Kevin Costner.
There was a survey. There was a survey actually. People's favorite version of King Arthur is actually Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's
especially because I actually liked Excalibur a great deal. That for me is the ultimate King Arthur movie. Because
that is a brilliant film. But if, like I said, the respondents said that their favorite version is actually
in Excalibur in a minor role. He played Guinevere's father. I think.
Oh yeah. Like I said, the respondent said that Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that a comedic spoof of this is of the legend is actually is their favorite version. I'm like, so what does that say about, we've gotten to the point where, like I said, if these things in the public domain, the only reason why they do them is because they're cheap. They don't have to pay anybody, and because everybody's already familiar with them. If you put Batman into the public domain, then I got a feeling then we're going to see far more Batman movies than we really need. Now, even with that said, like something like Axanar, even though, like I said, copyrights are a good thing, something like Axanar.
We might get those are the ones we need.
Those are the ones we need
right now, because we're not getting the ones we need from Warner Brothers.
Exactly. Okay, I got some breaking news here, and this will probably get cut off. This and something else.
Wait, hold on. I got the. Let me get the. Here we go.
Breaking news, Chiron.
Yes, hold on. Breaking news from Midnight Edge. We now go to Tom Connors.
We fix it.
According to GameSpot, Mark Hamill has been casted as the voice of Chucky in the reboot. And obviously related.
Why are they, why are they rebooting?
I was wondering.
No.
Who?
Oh.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Mark Hamill is the voice of Chucky in the reboot. I did not know that. Really curious to see that because I mean, if anyone else had to play Chucky, I mean, Mark Hamill. Would
Yeah,
be
but
the
he's
one
supposed to be a robot in this. He's not supposed to be a real
go
person.
I'm Chucky now.
No, I'm sure he would do.
Look, I'm just saying Chucky works
Totally
from the
different,
supernatural thing, but we
Joker,
can't have it be supernatural because of China.
Not just that, because technically MGM doesn't own the rights to that version of Chucky in a way. We're not going to get into all that crap. I'm surprised
Okay,
that I have named Chucky, but yeah.
Okay, I have fan reaction now to the news of the missed opportunity. Mark Hamill is Chucky. Oh man, fans are not happy right there, as you can tell. But we had to censor most of that. So
Yeah, well,
I just think this remake of Chucky is so unnecessary.
like I said, I mean, because if it was anyone other than Mark Hamill, I would say I'm not even going to bother. But I'm actually curious to know what Mark Hamill doing Chucky would have me wanted to watch it. And although I would probably end up walking out of the theater halfway through, but still,
I'm telling you now, I'm paying for Toy Story 4, and if I watch Child's Play,
would be
I
interesting.
snuck into it.
Mike, every time you drop out, I'm just gonna play over it. So
That way.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My connection is shit. I'm sorry.
Mike, watch it.
And then Joker 79 brings up the biggest problem with the whole entire Chucky reboot, and then we'll get off of this subject, is that there's a proper TV series coming with the actual actors and people and producers and all that creators involved. So why would we want a reboot? It makes no sense. Yes,
you know
Mark,
why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. That's why.
Can we just hire Mark Hamill to be in the Chucky TV series?
Well,
not kind of Chucky, but
yeah, I just.
I hate reboots. I'm so tired of reboots. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but it's not Chucky. It's just he's a robot now. He's just a possessed robot. Why even bother with the name Chucky? We've ranted about this a million times.
Yeah, if I was writing a Chucky Child's Play movie, it would be over in about 10 seconds.
Eric Kelly has a
like
good
Deathstalker.
Eric Kelly has one, Batman Dark Knight of the Round Table.
Yeah.
Elseworld comic. That would be interesting.
But can we have reboots of just bad movies like Deathstalker? Like, I'm sure Roger Corman could sell all of his original ideas and they could reboot them into like mainstream movies.
Dark Star, the reboot.
So back to Batman. Back to Batman.
Yeah, let's finish this up here because we've been going a little longer than planned. So again, happy 80th anniversary or birthday or whatever to Batman. Congratulations, of course, to the late Bill Finger and Bob Kane for creating such a iconic character that's lived so long in the zeitgeist of America. And even
the comic book Batman is actually old enough now.
Oh, watch your mouth.
So, all right, we want to thank Larry and Michael Wilk from the Wilk Report, of course. And Larry, where else can people find you besides the Wilk Report?
You can also find me at Recording in Progress with Jim Jesus. Also, I'm going to be doing a special conspiracy theory episode with Jim's Libertarian podcast, where we're going to talk about the Federal Reserve conspiracy theories and how it's all a bunch of nonsense.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories, so I'm gonna
It'll be good. You'll hear me mocking
listen to
conspiracy
that one.
theories about banks. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I love hearing conspiracy theories debunked. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
I started conspiracy. There was a great episode of Community about conspiracy theories. Jeff created a fake class, Conspiracy Theories 101. And the professor and he actually Dean Pelton didn't believe him, and he he met up with the professor and he goes, that's yes, I mostly teach night school. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with me teaching night school. Okay, well, thank you, Jeff. Catch up with the reading. I'll be in class Tuesday, or will I? And he goes, oh, I think I didn't believe you. And it's just like, yeah, I have no idea who that guy is. I've never seen him before. And there's a big conspiracy theory about the conspiracy theory class. So that's a classic episode, actually. Never seen it, see it. So that's all I got to say about that. Mecca, tell them about your channel while we're at it.
I am Mecca Random 42. I complain about stuff. I have an epic rant coming in about Captain Marvel and this whole Netflix Twitter fiasco that's going on. Yeah, there's more. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, right?
Yes.
That's going up in a couple hours here.
I
Or in an hour. It's in an hour. Premieres in an hour. Go watch the live premiere in an hour. It's already demonetized. So, yeah, I have YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, Twitch. What am I forgetting? I'm here all the time too.
Pornhub.
I actually don't have a Pornhub account.
And neither do I. So surprisingly,
You don't need one.
But you know that may be where we're all going to go if YouTube keeps messing around with things.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been
Absolutely.
demonetized too for some reason.
Oh, mine's already demonetized. I've been
It's
with the tags and
It's because we're all guilty of wrongthink. We have the wrong opinions that the advertisers.
Even though we were just talking about stuff we love, for an hour.
Yeah, but if we cared about what people think about us, we wouldn't be doing videos on YouTube.
I think just somebody has it in for us. That's all. That's all.
Ooh, we got a secret admirer. Ooh.
Oh,
well,
who's that?
we got somebody who's accusing people of being paid by Disney to hate Captain Marvel now. That's the new thing.
Wait, what?
Hey,
Yeah, I wish I was paid by Disney to help promote Captain Marvel with negative.
I was
trolling.
hating Captain Marvel for free.
I know.
I mean,
By the way, Disney, if you want to pay us to not like a Warner Brothers movie that we're not going to like, we're open. And also Warner Brothers, if you want to pay us to not like a Disney movie we're not going to like, we're open for that.
Absolutely.
You can pay us for bad criticisms that we're already planning to do.
just
Yeah, I mean,
just leave the money, unmarked bills behind in a paper bag behind the pizza plate.
that's my favorite. Whenever you question their narrative, they say, "How much are they paying you?" And it's like, well, let's see. Looks at my empty bank account.
Yeah, I'm always asking Andre what we've sold our I didn't sell my dignity for this week because we've already been accused of something. Yeah. It's like
So Michael Wilk, or Larry Will, what? Larry Will,
Larry Bernard,
Michael Wilk.
Yes.
Tell him about yourself. Did we already tell him about yourself? Tell me about
Yeah,
yourself.
Larry did. Michael can go ahead and plug his channel quick.
Yeah. I host a Wilk Report, holding a video this weekend on Alita Battle Angel. It's a little bit late, but
as we can hear today, there's
when
been
you're
some
when you're constantly broke and I have to leap at the chance, but it was a lot better than I thought it would be. I mean, it does have some issues that I'll get into in the video, but keep an eye out for that. I also did a lawsuit update. He updated his blog last weekend, so go check that out.
And of course, you can find us right here in Midnight's Edge After Dark. You can find us over the main channel, Midnight's Edge. Click like, subscribe to both. Ring the bell icons. Make sure the bell icon's important. That way you get notifications. You can head over to Patreon. You can check us out over there. Bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, behind the edge making of videos, my 10-minute stand-up set, and more. Support the channel for as little as $1 a month. If you don't have the means to support us through Patreon, you can actually send us money directly over PayPal if you so inclined.
We
For
still
just
haven't
price-
got the address for that, but if somebody does want mine, I'll give it.
Yeah, there's also Subscribe Star. I
No,
think,
we don't.
too.
We don't
You
have
can
that
use
yet. We're looking into that.
Yeah, Andre, I don't know if he's having issues because of the overseas part of it or what the deal is.
Yeah,
but
you
he's
have to use banks and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, as always, like I said, click like, subscribe. And as I always say, we cannot do this without you. Check out the Wilk Report. Check out our friends over at Clownfish TV, SE Reviews, Professor Geek, The Fan Man, Doomcock, Gary over at Nerdrotic. A lot of other people and a lot of other people. All right, everybody. Thanks to Larry, Mike, Mecha Random, Tom, and myself.
You don't thank yourself, Rob. We thank you, and we thank everybody out there for listening.
Doctor told me I should stop thanking myself, else I go blind.
I know. That's
Grow
why
hair on
we
your
both
palms, too.
have. You can only have the
What?
free Pornhub, not the subscription. Because if you have the
What?
subscription, you need prescription.
Who said that? I can't see too good anymore. Oh, okay,
Come on,
everybody.
you can do the on day 29. You can cancel.
Okay, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining us. Have a good rest of your evening. Don't drink and drive. Be excellent to each other, and we will catch you next time.
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.
I'm a big robot.
I just want to get to know you and be friends so I can finally have a real dad who loves and respects me.
Go to hell, you mutant offspring of comedy people.
Yeah, well, we